With A-Day happening tomorrow, I wanted to talk about not only who will be visiting and updating that, because the last time we talked, what was a stacked list has only grown, but also give my last thoughts leading up to the event, and I cannot wait to break all of this down because this is something I think we have all been really looking forward to. But before we hop into this, hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you feel like the Alabama Crimson Tide are in a good position to pick up a commitment this weekend? And also, who are you most excited that the Crimson Tide were able to get on campus? And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content. And if you enjoy that content, be sure to like and comment down below because those interactions are really big. But with all that being said, we have got to jump into this. And that list we talked about on Monday, my goodness, that list that was already so long in coveted prospects has only grown. And if we look at the class of 2022, it goes as follows: Ty Simpson, Emmanuel Henderson, Jeremiah Alexander, Walter Nolen, Mikel Williams, Robert Woodyard, Shamar James, Dane Shore, Justice Finkley, Antonio Kite, Amari Kelly, and TJ Dudley. That doesn't end there, though. The Alabama Crimson Tide have visitors from the class of 2023 in 5-star Peter Woods, 5-star Tony Mitchell, and also 4-star Kelby Collins. This is an absolutely stacked group of recruits visiting Tuscaloosa, and it is awesome. It's awesome first and foremost that a sense of normalcy is coming back with the dead period set to end June 1st. We're finally getting some transparency with the rules from the NCAA, and we can kind of feel like maybe we're getting back to something that's close to normal. And this right here is going to be awesome for the Crimson Tide in their capacity to be able to land commits that they like. They're going to be able to get them on campus in an awesome environment that is A-Day, and that's going to be a ton of fun for these kids. I think the Crimson Tide are in a really good position for a lot of players, but the biggest news has got to be that Walter Noland and Mikel Williams are going to be on campus. Now, Walter Noland, for what it's worth, and it's not worth much, is my #1 guy for the Alabama Crimson Tide in this class. With the Alabama Crimson Tide shoring up the quarterback position in 5-star Ty Simpson, I think that Walter Noland is the next choice for Alabama, and you can never have too many defensive tackles, especially of his capability. And when you look into next year, being able to pair Walter Noland with a Peter Woods is absolutely terrifying, and Alabama has a deep history of sending guys along that defensive front to the NFL. They have very, very successful careers, so the pitch is being very well received from everything I hear. There's still a long ways to go. This guy's hearing offers from everywhere in the nation, but it's awesome that he ends up at Tuscaloosa on A-Day, and that should show you that this pitch by Alabama is being very well received, and the Alabama Crimson Tide are in a very good position for Walter Noland. But there is a ways to go into this process for Nolen. Now, Mikel Williams is a little bit shocking that he's going to be on campus because he's someone who we know is an incredibly talented individual, but the Alabama Crimson Tide have not yet ramped up the push on him. It's actually a really good sign to me that Mikel Williams wants to be on campus because that means he's very interested in Alabama. And make no mistake, Alabama has interest in Williams. They've extended the offer, but they have yet to really ramp up and zero in on his process. And the logical explanation for that is he hasn't camped at Alabama yet. That's something that the Crimson Tide really take pride in. They're really high on evaluating at camp settings. We've heard guys break out at these camps and go viral, such as JT Tuimalau. But that's going to be big if he can get on the Tide campus for Williams to be able to camp. With his interest in the Tide wanting to come, the fact that he's coming with Walter Noland, guys such as Jeremiah Alexander, but the commits in this class being Ty Simpson and Emmanuel Henderson are going to do great jobs, in my opinion, of being able to pitch to all of these guys to hop on board, especially the fact that Simpson, Nolan, both from Tennessee. I really like that. They've known each other for a while, but it doesn't end there. All of these guys are going to be incredibly important pieces that the Crimson Tide are going to be hot well after A-Day weekend. But now let's turn our attention to the actual game and what we can look forward to with just a day separating us from the event. And really, I think we've talked about it, we've covered it, but there are just some last thoughts that I want to talk about. First, we'll start with the offense. I can't wait to see what Bryce Young looks like. We're going to get to see him in a larger capacity, even though this is going to be an incredibly vanilla offense, an incredibly vanilla defense, and the Crimson Tide has some individuals out of this game. However, because of that, the offensive line, I'm really intrigued in seeing how they're able to handle this vaunted Alabama defense. I'm not sure who's going to be out of the game, what that capacity will look like, but I do know that the Alabama Crimson Tide offensive line will get a lot of good reps, a lot of good looks against very talented players. I'm also equally as excited for the second team offensive line because there's a lot of talented freshmen on there, Brockermeyer and J.C. Latham, and when Evan Neal went down, Brockermeyer actually took his starting spot in that scrimmage, and so that's going to be very big to see how those guys look, to see how they progress. Now, I think it is always important to note before we go any further that a position isn't going to be won or lost in A-Day. This is really just to get these kids a little bit of confidence going in here, getting them to play in an Alabama Crimson Tide environment, and it's also kind of for the fans to get them acclimated to the new guys, but it's just meant for fun, really. The offensive line, first, second team, going to be very important to watch, but also this wide receiver room. With John Mechie out, it's presented the opportunity for Javon Baker, Trayshawn Holden, Slade Bolden to all take advantage of increased reps. And I can't wait to see what that looks like going into Saturday, because we might be able to see somebody come out of Saturday having a very, very good A-Day, and I'm very interested to see who that is. And when we talk about the wide receivers, we certainly can't skip past the tight ends. I'm sorry. Cameron Latou, really come on. Jaleel Billingsley, we know who he is. We know how talented he is, and this is going to be instant offense. Because of all the new faces, the Crimson Tide will look to feature them much more. On the defensive side, I'm looking to guys who I know will be backing up some of the more sure depth on this Alabama Crimson Tide roster. Guys like Drew Sanders. I'm hoping he gets a lot of meaningful capacity, a lot of meaningful reps, because he is incredibly talented. He played all over the field in his time at Denton Ryan High School, and I'm really interested to see what he looks like with a year under his belt. I'm very excited for him, Chris Braswell, all of the incoming guys, all the new faces. The defensive line is going to be a ton of fun to see because the talent depth at that defensive front is nutty. We've talked about before that outside linebacker position and that edge position for Alabama is one of, if not the most talented groups in the nation. And also finishing it out with the secondary, you cannot not be excited about the secondary. Brian Branch has always played phenomenal football, a year under his belt coming into the game. Jordan Battle, guys such as that, going to be a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to see. And the thing I'm most looking forward to seeing, I think, on the secondary level is how does the second team play? There's a lot of talented guys in this Alabama Crimson Tide secondary, and it's going to be a ton of fun to watch them go out there and compete. I cannot wait for A-Day. I'm really excited to see what y'all are thinking, and y'all already know, as soon as A-Day is done, we're going to be here covering it, talking about it, and I can't wait to see y'all then. That's it. See ya.